When Julian asked me for a divorce again, it was always because of that actress, Clara. I finally decided to just agree. Her hand, holding a cigarette, froze in the air. After a moment, a small, knowing smile appeared on her face. What is this? Being so agreeable this time? Did you finally figure out that making a fuss is pointless, so you're trying a new strategy? I calmly slipped my wedding ring off and placed it on the table. No, I just don't want to drag this out anymore. After a long silence, Julian put out her cigarette. Leaning against the wall, she spoke slowly. There's no real hurry, you know. It's just that Clara's career is really taking off right now. And you constantly bothering her is just so annoying. I didn't say anything. I carefully signed my name on the divorce papers, one stroke at a time. Only then did I look up. Don't worry, it won't happen again. Julian paused for a second, her thoughts hidden. Then she straightened up, her voice showing a slight, almost unnoticeable hint of annoyance. Fine, it better not, or you know what will happen. My body shook a little. It was a reaction I couldn't control. The last time she had tried to force a divorce, I had completely lost it. I had leaked the embarrassing photos Clara had sent to deliberately provoke me all over the internet. But Julian sued me for spreading false information and won. After that, Clara's fans found and shared my personal information, forcing me to make a public apology. Back then, after hearing the court's decision, Julian had been exactly the same, watching without showing any emotion as I fell apart. Then, with a raised eyebrow, she had said, "Sweetie, are you happy with the result?" It's strange. It was so painful, so suffocating back then. But thinking about it now, I don't feel anything. Only a sense of how ironic it all was. Walking out the front door with my suitcase, I looked at the plane ticket in my hand. It slowly dawned on me. I was finally free of the relationship that had only brought me shame. On a huge screen in the shopping mall, Clara was smiling, confident and stunning in an advertisement for a fancy watch. That image merged with the memory of the arrogant girl who had so openly challenged me. Julian was right about one thing. Clara's career really was getting bigger. Those compromising photos hadn't harmed her at all. In fact, her fans had praised her for being honest and true to herself, calling her the most genuine person out there. The first time I found out Julian was cheating was because Clara herself told me, just to be mean. Back then, I caused a scene with Julian's whole family. I made sure everyone knew about the shameful thing Julian had done. During that time, everyone tried to calm me down, telling me to be the better person and to let things go. But I was full of hatred. I hated Julian for betraying me. I hated her for making me look like a crazy, hysterical man, all while she was having a good time with her girlfriend. I couldn't accept it, and I refused to compromise. Then came the day a reporter took a picture of them going into a hotel. It caused a huge scandal. To protect Clara's career and reputation, Julian did something drastic. She publicly admitted their relationship. At that time, the news headlines were all about the love story between the wealthy heiress and the beautiful actress. The news drove me mad. I stormed into Julian's office and screamed at her. Julian gritted her teeth and told Clara to leave first, which only made me angrier. As my yelling reached its peak, she finally lost her temper, her face cold. "That's right. I'm a terrible person, and I cheated. If you can't handle it, then divorce me." Her words hung in the air. We both froze. But in the end, I was the one who broke the silence. I was even more hysterical and out of control than before. "Why the hell should I divorce you? Why should I let you and that awful woman get what you want? Julian, you two can live with the shame of being cheating scum for the rest of your lives." We separated after that, on terrible terms. Julian didn't even come home anymore. The only way I could keep track of her was through Clara's posts on X, where she would show off their relationship. Attacked from all sides, I made a desperate decision to ruin everything. I posted our marriage certificate online, revealing the truth of their affair. But before the story could get any attention, Julian fought back. She paid a large amount of money to my father's doctor, stopping the specialist from returning from overseas to treat him. Then she forced me to release a statement, claiming the marriage certificate was fake. The moment I found out, I felt all the blood drain from my face. I didn't even notice Clara's self-satisfied, victorious expression. I practically shrieked, my voice breaking. "Julian, you know his condition can't wait. You know this could kill him. How can you be so cruel?" But Julian didn't react, calmly holding her cigarette. She waited until I collapsed onto the sofa, completely drained. Then she put out her cigarette and said slowly, "Sweetie, don't expect any kindness from me. Go make the statement. Don't ruin her." In that moment, my heart felt a suffocating, hopeless pressure I'd never experienced, like a fish dying, gasping and flopping on the shore. I couldn't believe the woman in front of me was the person I had once loved. And it was on that day that I finally decided to end this relationship. But my shame was far from over. My father's illness couldn't wait. I had no choice but to give in. I personally admitted the marriage certificate was a fake, and that it was all because I was jealous and seeing things that weren't real. To this day, the comments on that post are full of horrible insults aimed at me. Dude, are you that desperate for attention? Psycho! Daring to spread rumors that my idol is a homewrecker? You're pathetic. Can someone slap some sense into him? I'll pitch in $5. I've got 10. During that time, I was in a daze, like a zombie. My only escape was sitting by my father's bedside. Maybe I looked too worn out, because even without going online, my father sensed something was wrong. He sighed and started talking about Julian and me. When Julian and I fell in love, her family hadn't accepted her yet. She was still the wild girl living with her grandmother, barely having enough money for food or warm clothes. It was my father who had supported her. He had even paid for her education. But now, my father's past kindness had become a weapon turned against his son. He had no idea what I was dealing with. I looked at my father's increasingly weak face. Let it be, I thought. At least I still have my father. At least I haven't lost everything. But bad luck enjoys tormenting those who are already suffering. When I got the call that my father was in critical condition, I rushed to the hospital like a madman. But I was forcefully surrounded at my own front door by a mob of Clara's fans. They had found my home address and were here to righteously scold me. I couldn't break through the crowd, my eyes turning red with panic. I could only keep trying to explain the truth. But not a single person believed me. Hilarious! Still dreaming! How pathetic can you be? You were so smug when you accused my idol of being a homewrecker. Who are you crying for now? In the middle of the argument, someone got angry and shoved me hard. You're shameless! Just apologize already! I stumbled back 2 steps and fell hard onto the ground. I heard someone laugh scornfully. Ignoring the sharp pain in my knee, I finally gave up. Like a puppet on a string, I kept apologizing to the cameras. I was pathetic. I was seeing things. I'm sorry, Clara. It was all my fault. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. The self-righteous mob of fans, as if they had won a great victory, laughed and finally let me go. See? Should have just done that from the start. But by the time I rushed to the hospital, it was too late. For a moment, I thought I was in a long dream, that when I woke up, I'd still be the little boy who used to fall asleep in his father's arms. That I hadn't met Julian yet, hadn't been reduced to someone people could step on. But reality delivered a fatal blow. I had chosen the wrong person, and because of it, I didn't even get to see my father one last time. That day, I knelt by his bed and cried helplessly, for a very, very long time. The nurse who had been taking care of my father told me his last words. "The old gentleman was calling your name at the end. He said no matter why you didn't make it, he doesn't blame you. He just hopes that you and your wife can live a good life together." I held my father's cold hand, sitting stunned on the floor, silent for a long time. I don't remember much of what happened next. Going back to my hometown, the cremation, the funeral. Finally, I sat in the memorial hall and made one last call to Julian. At the very least, she should come to see the older man who was thinking of her even as he died. When the call connected, I realized my voice was rough and broken. "My dad passed away," I said, but the voice that came through the phone was Clara's, cheerful and mocking. "Well, congratulations, but Julian's a bit busy for you right now. She's with me at a doctor's appointment." "Who is it?" Julian's voice followed. I hung up, feeling numb, and spent the entire night awake in the memorial hall. After that, I calmly returned to the city. I bought a plane ticket, turned my assets into cash, and agreed to the divorce. Let the past be the past. Before boarding the plane, I sat in the airport and began my final revenge. I was never the type to just take abuse without fighting back. I sent a collection of confidential company information to Julian's main corporate competitor. Only after confirming the money was in my account did I feel at ease. The internet was full of negative comments about me. I could click on any random topic and see my photo, edited into ugly, ridiculous memes. And even after all this time, Clara's statement claiming to be the victim was still pinned to her profile. It was from the day I was forced to deny our marriage. Clara. "What goes around comes around. Throw all the dirt you want. I've never been afraid of anyone." The comments below were all supportive. Now that's a real woman. People who use dirty tricks to ruin a person's reputation don't deserve to be called people. My idol is just too kind. She didn't even sue. I curled my lip in a mocking smile. Then I gathered all the taunting messages Clara had sent me and forwarded them to her biggest rival. A nice bit of revenge carried out by someone else. Just as I was about to turn off my phone, a call came in from Julian. "Forgot to tell you, the divorce waiting period is only 30 days. If you want to change your mind, it's not impossible. But you'd better do something to make me happy." Her voice was as casual and confident as ever, as if she was sure I couldn't let her go. I looked at the boarding time and said flatly, "Got it." Then I hung up without another word and boarded the plane. That was the first time I had ever hung up on her. Julian was annoyed for 5 days. She got out of Clara's embrace. Then she put on her coat, planning to go home and check things out. Clara wrapped her arms around her from behind, clinging to her. "Julian, stay with me a little longer." Julian turned her head and said coolly, "About your situation, don't tell me yet." Clara pouted. "You're already getting divorced. What is there to be scared of?" Julian stiffened, a strange wave of anger rising in her. "We still have 25 days. How is that divorced?" She pushed Clara away, got dressed, and went home. She hadn't been back in almost a week, and the house was strangely quiet. A feeling of unease crept over Julian, and it peaked when she saw the kitchen, which showed no signs of use. She pushed open the bedroom door and searched through the closet for a long time. Finally, in the trash can, she saw what she was looking for. The ring. The day we signed the divorce papers, I had placed it on the table and pushed it toward her. She hadn't taken it because deep down, she didn't believe I would ever truly agree to a divorce. Even if I signed the papers, she thought I would regret it sooner or later. After all, I loved her. Julian picked up the ring and carefully wiped the dust off it. This was from when she was 19. She had tutored, worked odd jobs, and delivered food, working non-stop for 3 months just to buy it. For her and for me, it held great meaning, so he must have dropped it in the trash by accident. Julian stood up and looked at the wedding photo hanging on the wall. The person in the picture was me, just 22, dressed in a nice suit, my smile bright and happy. Come to think of it, the reason she had gotten involved with Clara was also because of me. She could never forget the 18-year-old me who had captured her heart in her youth. Back then, she was poor, rebellious, and had nothing. It was me who had given her all my warmth. Later, her family accepted her back. She stopped being the daughter born outside of marriage and quickly climbed the social ladder. And as she had always wanted, she married me. But I had changed. I'd lost my carefree college spirit and become ordinary and boring, just like all the other fake sons-in-law of rich families. Julian knew deep down it was because I came from a normal background. To marry into her family, I had to learn to fit in so I wouldn't embarrass her. So even though she was disappointed, she still loved me. Until Clara appeared. She was so much like the younger me. Julian felt it was only natural that she would be drawn to her. The first time she mentioned divorce to me, it just slipped out. The moment she said it, she felt a sudden regret. The times she brought it up after that were only because she felt I was making too much of a scene. She just wanted me to calm down a bit. After all, compared to the other women in her social circle, she was practically perfect. In all these years, there had only been Clara. For me to make such a fuss over it was truly ungrateful. Besides, she never really planned to divorce me. As long as I behaved, as long as I was a little more accepting, she would eventually come back to me once she got tired of playing around. Julian picked up her phone, deciding to call me and fix things. But before the call could connect, she realized I had blocked her. Her forehead wrinkled. It seemed impossible. She and Clara had been together for years, and even when I was at my angriest, I had never blocked her. Before she could figure out why, her phone rang. It was Clara. "Julian, he leaked our information to my rival's company. There are tons of mean comments on X now, and the story is starting to explode. What do I do, Julian? I'm so scared. How could he be so awful? Does he really want to destroy me that badly?" Listening to her complaining, Julian's forehead tightened. I had pulled the same stupid trick as last time. Hadn't I learned my lesson? She remembered my pale, helpless face as I had confronted her, asking why she could be so cruel to my father. For a moment, Julian's determination weakened. She thought of my father, the man who had helped her when she was young. In truth, she had only been trying to scare me back then. Even if I had refused to make the public statement, she wouldn't have let the man die. But I had agreed. I had been very obedient. "I know. I'll take care of it." Hanging up, Julian was in no mood to comfort Clara. She decided to find me. As long as I agreed to clear this up, she would remarry me. She'd even take me on a trip to that country I always wanted to visit. It was a trip she had promised me when we got married. But right after the wedding, she had been busy dealing with her family, busy building a career to prove herself. By the time she finally had free time, her relationship with me had already fallen apart, but she had still gone on that trip, with Clara. At the time, Clara had found out about her promise to me, and had pestered her about it constantly. She couldn't stand her nagging, so she agreed. Julian recalled my reaction when I found out she had gone with Clara. I had looked like I was somewhere between crying and laughing. A strange feeling gripped her heart. She tried to call my father, but found the number had been disconnected. She had to call my closest friend instead. And then her face changed. He sold all his assets and moved out of the country? Impossible. There's no way he'd leave me, Julian shouted in disbelief. But she quickly calmed down. My father was still in the hospital receiving treatment. How could I possibly leave my father? But when she called the doctor, she was met with a confused reply. Miss Liu, I've already returned to the U.S. Julian was furious. You went back to the U.S.? Who's looking after my father-in-law? The doctor's tone grew even more puzzled. But the patient passed away last month, didn't he? In that moment, it felt like Julian had been hit by lightning. She couldn't believe what she was hearing. Passed away? How is that possible? She mumbled blankly. If he had passed away, why didn't I call her? Why didn't I come to her? Suddenly, Julian remembered the phone call she'd received while at the doctor's appointment with Clara. She hadn't clearly heard what Clara said at the time. Thinking back on it now, her face turned pale. She called Clara, her voice cold. Did you say something to him about that? Clara's voice was nervous as she tried to defend herself. Julian, I was just so happy. I wanted to show off a little. Julian exploded. You idiot! Have I or have I not told you not to provoke him? Do you have any idea what your place is? Clara's face went white, and she bit her lip, her voice trembling. But you're divorced, Julian. Aren't you going to marry me? Julian laughed, a sound with no humor in it. Marry you? When did I ever say I was going to marry you? He and I were together for years. Do you really think you can break us up? Clara clenched her jaw, her voice choked with tears. Julian, you can't do this to me. What about our son? What will happen to Aiden? But Julian had already hung up. Clutching the watch, she scrambled out the door. He's beautiful. Are those your new llamas? An old man's friendly voice called out. I turned and smiled at him. They are. I'm planning on staying here for a while. Here's to hoping every day is a good one. After arriving in Australia, I used the money from selling my assets to buy a house in the suburbs. It came with a huge lawn. A few llamas were perfect for passing the time. As for matters back home, I didn't want to think about them anymore. Julian's corporate rival was still waiting for the right moment, and hadn't done anything yet. But Clara's world had already been turned upside down. Rumors that Clara knowingly became a homewrecker and that the heiress of the Liu family was a cheater were once again trending. This time the evidence was more complete, and many people were questioning the story. For instance, there was a timeline of photos from when Julian and I were together, and the voice recordings of Clara's taunting. Several of my old high school classmates also came forward to confirm my relationship with Julian. They were probably paid, but the information they provided was real. The comment section on Clara's ex-profile had completely fallen apart. I actually wanted to say this last time, but that marriage certificate showed no signs of being fake. But you all just insulted my whole family. God, they're disgusting. How dare those two shameless cheaters be so arrogant? Didn't Clara's fans praise her for being the most genuine person out there? The kind of genuine that involves provoking the husband and bragging about how his rich girlfriend spoils her? I can't even imagine how much pain the husband was in when he was forced to apologize. Clara, get out of the entertainment industry. That cheating witch needs to stay away from having children, and Clara's fans need to come here and apologize too. None of that had anything to do with me anymore. I hired some new help to deal with the weeds in the garden. It was too much heavy work for one person. My helper was a girl named Ivy, in her early 20s, with a sprinkle of freckles and a smile that was pure sunshine. Julian, I want to eat your slow-cooked ribs again. Can we go shopping for them? Please. Her playful begging just made me laugh, but I still nodded. I never expected to run into a red-eyed Julian on the street. At that moment, Ivy and I were loading several large bags of groceries and supplies into the trunk of my car. Ivy, like a young deer, shook her ponytail. "Julian, I'm all sweaty." I used a tissue to wipe her forehead a few times, and that's when I heard a familiar voice. "Julian, aren't you going to explain who this is?" Julian was standing behind me, staring angrily at me. I turned around, and after a brief moment of surprise, my expression returned to calm. "Can I help you?" Ivy looked at her, confused, then asked me, "Julian, who's this?" I said flatly, "My ex-wife." Julian's face darkened clearly. She looked at Ivy. "What, you found a little slut this quickly after moving abroad?" she sneered. Ivy didn't quite understand what slut meant, but she could tell from Julian's expression it wasn't a compliment. She frowned, but said nothing. Julian was shaking with rage. She strode forward and tried to grab my hand. "Come back with me. We'll get remarried." Her arrogant tone finally made me lose my temper. I yanked my hand back and slapped her hard across the face. "Don't touch me. You're disgusting." The force of the slap whipped Julian's head to the side. Before she could even process her anger, she heard my voice, full of dislike. She froze. After a long moment, she bit her lip and said, "I didn't know Dad passed away that day. Julian, I'm not that cruel." I just found it funny. "So what?" Julian said firmly. "Come back with me. I can overlook your thing with this little slut." I actually laughed out loud. I raised my hand to slap her again, but she caught my wrist. Without hesitation, I kicked her hard in the stomach. Julian's face went white, and she stumbled back a few steps, looking at me in disbelief. I wiped my hand with disgust. "What right do you have to overlook anything I do? It's fine for you to cheat with Clara, but I can't find a partner? Julian, who the hell do you think you are?" Julian gritted her teeth against the pain and lifted her head. "If you're upset about that, I can break up with Clara." "Sorry, I'm not interested anymore," I sneered and took Ivy's hand, pulling her toward the car. A vein throbbed in Julian's forehead as she chased after me. "Julian, you can't do this to me." I ignored her, but Ivy, for some reason, had the good sense to call the police. After a brief conversation, an officer walked threateningly toward Julian. Julian was used to getting her way back home and didn't take the police seriously at all. "Get lost," she snapped. The officer, of course, wasn't about to put up with that. He immediately raised his gun and shot her in the leg. Julian cried out in pain and collapsed to the ground. Watching her clutch her leg in a pathetic heap, I felt not a shred of sympathy, just a sense of dark amusement. She deserved it. Through the rearview mirror, Julian saw my cold expression, and the color drained from her face. Finally, she screamed at the top of her lungs, "Julian, you get back here!" Back at the house, Ivy said seriously, "Julian, this is too dangerous. I need to protect you." I thought about it and decided she had a point. "All right, you can name your salary." Ivy's face lit up at the mention of a salary. I had no romantic interest in Ivy, and she had none in me. The only one with a dirty mind was Julian. After that day, Julian seemed to quiet down. After all, if she didn't let her leg heal properly, she really would end up with a limp. The next time I saw Julian was at the gate of my house. This time, she had Clara with her. Clara clearly didn't understand the situation. The scandal back home had hurt her career, but she figured that as long as she could marry Julian, she could live a comfortable life even without being an actress. So at this moment, she looked incredibly pleased with herself. She grinned at me. "Julian, long time no see." But Julian's first words made her face fall. "Julian, if you're willing to come back with me, I can make her disappear." I stared at them both without expression, just feeling annoyed. But Clara's face instantly went white, her voice trembling. "Julian, what are you saying? Aiden, I thought you loved him." Julian didn't speak, just pressed her lips together and stared at me as if waiting for my answer. Clara completely broke down. "You monster! How could you do this to me?" I calmly watched the drama unfold. Only when Julian impatiently shoved Clara away did I speak slowly and deliberately. "Get lost, and don't ever let me see you again, or I'll have the police shoot you again." Julian's face changed, and she instinctively touched her thigh. The gunshot wound there hadn't fully healed, and the phantom pain was still fresh in her mind. Just then, Ivy walked out of the house. She was holding a shotgun. "Back off or I'll shoot!" Julian's expression shifted again, torn between fear of the gun and fury at seeing Ivy come out of my house. She backed away, shouting, "Did you sleep with her?" I just sneered, saying nothing. Julian and Clara were forced all the way past the house gates before Ivy lowered the gun. I was about to go back inside when I heard Julian's phone ring. It was her assistant from the company. Julian answered, and her face went through shades of green and white. She looked at me in disbelief. And at that moment, I finally remembered that my new business partner back home had mentioned something, that with Julian's reputation ruined and her mysteriously out of the country, this was the perfect time to attack. So the call she was receiving now was likely to inform her that her company was in trouble. I watched her with great interest, even raising an eyebrow at her smugly. Then I mouthed the words, "I did this." Julian's expression began to crumble, as if she'd suffered a massive shock. I quickly shut the gate, giving her no chance to scream at me. Business problems can't wait, so Julian only stood outside the gate for a short while, before rushing back to the country to deal with the crisis. I went back to my leisurely life, eating, drinking, and enjoying myself. The llamas in my yard grew strong and healthy, and I had enough money to last a lifetime. Sometime later, I heard that Julian had managed to turn things around and save her company. But before I could get angry, I heard her company was in trouble again. This time, it was Clara's doing. Julian had forced her to cut ties with their son and refused to help her pay off her massive contract cancellation fines. She was clearly trying to get rid of her. Desperate and resentful, she chose to follow my example. She stole company secrets and sold them to Julian's rival. Causing chaos twice due to personal issues had consequences. Julian was directly removed from her position as CEO. Her family's company wouldn't fail, but it no longer had anything to do with Julian. Her ambitious uncle took over the family business, and then announced that Julian was being kicked out of the family. Julian had controlled her uncle for years, and their relationship was toxic. Now that her uncle was in power, Julian's fate was sealed. Some more time passed, and I heard Julian had been in a car accident. Clara was the one who hit her. She had taken money from Julian's uncle, but Julian only had herself to blame for being so ruthless. She had pushed both of her women to drive her to her own destruction. The car accident didn't kill Julian directly. Instead,
I think you played this
in a crueler twist of fate, it cost her both of her legs.
like a week ago?
She was now disabled.
Because I remember that album
A fitting end, all things considered. Another autumn came, and I returned home alone to visit my father's grave. Coincidentally, on the street, I saw Julian in a wheelchair. She looked so worn down that I almost didn't recognize her. To my surprise, she was running a small street stall. It was probably her only source of income now. I felt no pity, just a terrifyingly calm emptiness. The once
So do we get a
admired
hydration
genius
redeem
had
now?
been
I feel we can
destroyed
help
by
him
her
out
own
and not
hand.
Get sauced with one of those.
I thought of Clara again.
If I
After
get
being
too
forced
sauced,
out of the
then I'll
entertainment
just
industry
end
because
up,
she couldn't pay the fines, she had been sent to prison for assault. Thinking about it now, she should be getting out in a couple of years. I wondered what kind of trouble those two would cause then. I didn't let Julian see me. I just calmly turned and walked away.
Stream elements.
My father's grave was clean.
Dashboard.
I had hired someone to tend to it regularly.
Most of the commands for
Looking at the gentle man in the
stream elements
photograph,
don't even work, like follow
my
age
eyes grew
and
watery.
watch time.
I knelt
For
and
whatever
whispered,
reason, none of them are working.
"Dad, I'm doing well on my own now. I'm happy." A gentle breeze rustled my hair. It felt like my father was answering me.
Yeah, it does. I don't get why none of it fucking works. Where the fuck is the song? Skip. Turn that off. Account age works. Geriatric BNR. Alright, I turned those fucking commands off, so... Yeah, I think I first heard about Twitch in 2013. And it was one of my roommates in the Navy. Well, not one of my roommates, but it was one of my friends. I went over to his barracks room and he was watching something on Twitch. He said, "Have you ever heard of this?" I said, "What?" And he said, "Twitch." So what the fuck is that? And he said, "You watch people play video games." And I said, "Why the fuck would anybody want to watch someone play video games?"